had. I gave a speech, and in that speech I mentioned OTB, and I used an old line that someone had used years ago and said it was the only bookie in town that lost money. Len Allen, the president of local 2021, was in the room and came over to me afterwards and said, "There's a reason for that. You need to take a look at the situation. New York City is being shortchanged." In 2006, we came out with a report from the comptroller's office that pointed out what the problem was. The state continued to stick their hand further and further and further in the pocket of New York City OTB, taking more and more and more. We did a press conference back in 2006 and said, if this situation isn't dealt with now, eventually New York City is going to have to subsidize OTB to keep it open. Well, that time has come. That day has arrived. New York City has said we can't. We can't subsidize OTB. There's so many other things that we have to pay for. We can't subsidize OTB. And the state of New York has failed to resolve the situation. Make no mistake, this is about greed. The state of New York, the racing industry, has used New York City OTB as a cash cow. Over, as David Weber pointed out, in some years it's $125 million. This year it may be over $130 million of revenue that OTB generates. Profit. After everybody gets their cut, OTB now operates at a deficit. That's the problem. And this year they have to dip into their reserves to stay open. It isn't fair to taxpayers in New York City to ask us to subsidize OTB, and it definitely isn't fair to the 1,500 employees who each and every day show up at work to do a job. It isn't fair for the state to treat them this way. The state of New York needs to resolve this situation instantly. We're within the final 4 days before 1,500 hardworking New Yorkers get laid off. It is wrong, it is disgraceful, and it needs to be dealt with instantly. This is a venture that generates, as I said, over $100 million a year in profit. For everyone to stick their hands in our pockets and take, everybody gets a piece. No, Yonkers Raceway, when it was closed, they got $1 million a year for being closed. We subsidize the racing industry in New York State. It is wrong. Albany needs to make the changes now, today, so that 1,500 hardworking employees don't continue to be threatened. And as I said, we stand here today, representatives of government, the unions, and those who care, just to say to Albany, get it done, and get it done now. Thank you.